Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens. It's a beautiful day in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And today we're going to talk about a number of beautiful things, including but not limited to succeeding through challenging events in life. So I'm excited to talk about that. And we got a great guest, spoiler alert. So we do have a great guest for that. And her name is Kimberly Bashor. So welcome to the show, Kimberly. But before we get started, I got a couple of things I'm kind of excited about. So I want to talk about, first of all, I teased this on the show a couple weeks ago. We had Kindkeeper on, and Kindkeeper is actually going to be doing a little fundraiser with us on March 27th. Come on out to the Beachfront Kitchen and Bar in Myrtle Beach. We're going to be doing a fundraiser for Kindkeeper. Anybody who has a spaghetti meal on that night is going to have $10 per that meal raised for Kindkeeper. So that's a beautiful opportunity.
Awesome.
What if we could get 100 people out there, Kimberly?
I bet we can.
I think we can get 100. Yeah. So come on out and support this great event. Get some great food. If you haven't been to the Beachfront Kitchen and Bar, it's great food. But the other thing is, look, you go out there and you know that you're helping an animal from a no-kill facility. So talk about changing the world, right?
Right, absolutely.
Very cool stuff. The other thing, I had a buddy stop by today, give me a little hat. Everybody knows I like hats and energy drinks, so there you go. But anyway, thank you to Metal Roofing Systems for stopping by and the cool-looking hat there, so we'll zoom in on that. But anyway, well, without all that nonsense, I wanted to get into a little bit about why we're here today. Coming off of a challenging event, which we all have in life, sometimes we have two options we can take. One option is we cower down and we say, look, this just isn't for me, or woe with me, hard times are here. And sometimes we can look at it and say, maybe this is an opportunity to come out of the cocoon and create a whole new awareness for myself. And so we actually have Kimberly on the show, and she's going to talk about her journey creating a very successful business called Cake Poppin. And I'm excited to hear all from you. So Kimberly, welcome again to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, well, you got a great personality. I met you at the Coastal Carolina speaking event at one point,
yes.
And you're just excited about cake pops.
I am. I love cake pops. What's not to be excited about?
I know, right? You know, and I got to tell you, who was more excited than I expected were all the college students.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Here comes Rob speaking to them about, taking on the marketing world. Kimberly comes in with her cake pops, and I got to tell you, 10 to 1 questions were about cake pops. So anyway, there's that popular little thing you came up with there.
Who doesn't love a sweet treat on a stick?
I'm going to tell you, and they're good for everything, right?
Absolutely.
Every holiday, every whatever. Well,
yes.
That's cool. What else is going on in your world? What are you excited about?
So my new thing that I'm excited about is my cake pop classes. You can come into a class and you learn how to make cake pops yourself. You can dip them, decorate them, but not only that, then we have all of the holidays going on. Valentine's just passed, which was super busy. You got to give your sweet treat to your Valentine, right?
Right.
And then we have St. Patrick's Day coming up. Holidays are always busy for me.
Let me ask you this. So when it comes to your typical clientele, and especially for Valentine's Day,
yes.
I kind of wonder, is it typically a guy in his 20 to 60 range, or is it kids? I mean, who's buying the stuff at Valentine's?
All over. Like, I have guys calling for their wives. I have business owners wanting to give it to their employees. So all over the board, even sending them to their kids to their schools and everything. So everybody loves a cake pop.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What's a popular thing to do on Valentine's Day, since we're just coming off of that?
Popular thing to do for Valentine's
Yeah, well, what's a
Day?
Popular cake pop? I mean, is it going to be chocolate with red?
Well, it's more than likely probably the traditional. The traditional is
Yeah.
always a fan favorite, which is just a yellow cake with sprinkles.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
gotcha. Yeah, keep it traditional.
Or a red velvet.
Red
Everybody
velvet.
loves a red velvet.
I know a lot of people talk about that.
Yes.
Man, wow, that's
Yes.
good stuff. As far as your cake pops themselves, do you do custom cake pops?
I do. I do custom cake pops for birthday parties. I just got finished with an event for Remax.
Okay.
They had their gala or whatever they have every year, and they've got 300 cake pops and their colors and everything.
Oh, okay.
So yes, you can do cake pops for any event.
What's the most interesting cake pop you ever made? And I'm
gosh.
full on cake pop questioning you already.
I know.
Yeah.
Personally, I love the TV show Friends.
Okay.
So I got to recreate all the little characters from that, so I really enjoyed that one.
No, you made a little Courtney Cox cake pop.
Well, I made the little turkey with the glasses on it, and made made the little pivot sign. So,
wow.
yes.
I was picturing, I didn't know how far you would go with this, so I was like picturing like little Rachel, she's got a little hairdo.
I could so do it.
Oh, okay, all right, well, cool. Hey, if you were to say you are most like one of the ladies from Friends, which one would it be?
Oh, goodness. I'd say Phoebe. Free spirit all over the place.
That's very cool. See, I'm asking the hard-hitting questions here on the Leader Mentality Show. You heard it here first. Well, no, so you got those events. Now, as far as teaching people how to make their own cake pops, that seems kind of counterintuitive to me, because you make money off of selling cake pops, and now here you are teaching people how to make them. What's your strategy there?
So I've had several people say, well, if you teach everybody how to make them, then they're not going to come to you to buy them.
Right.
Well, the trick is they learn how to make them and they say, this is way too complicated for me, so I don't want to do it. I'll pay you to do it.
It's the old DIY thing where you make it just complicated enough. People are like, never mind.
Never mind.
Give it to
I'm
the professional.
good. I'll just buy it from you.
When you first started making these and you're kind of learning how to get good at your job, did you ever have a disaster?
Oh my gosh, I have, early on in my career, my children and my husband literally ate more than what I probably sold. Because all of the mess ups, that's where they got them. So they are like, Mom, we're good. We'll try your new cake pops now. But literally, I filled them up with so many cake pops early on that they had so many, because I had messed up so many times.
Oh yeah, they're probably the only people in town who really didn't want a cake pop.
Yes,
wow, that's
absolutely.
Funny. Well, that's cool. I picture for some reason flour all over you and stuff all over the floor. I don't know why.
Listen, sitting in the floor crying is probably more like it.
Hey, the joys of business ownership,
yes,
right?
It is.
Well, we talked about this before the show. I mean, it's not all puppy dog tails and rainbows when you start a business. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and just how you get there. Sometimes the journey is just as interesting as the success story. So we'll talk about that a lot today. But we talked about starting a business, starting that one idea, changing your life with a challenging event. And we've seen this in time. Some people who have just had something very traumatic happen and then turn into something good. And when you were talking to me before the show, you were telling me some things that kind of made me think, you're the embodiment of that, right? So tell us a little bit about how you got Cake Poppin started.
So originally, my sister came home one day from a party and said, hey, I want you to make me a cake pop. And I was like, I've always been very creative. I've loved making stuff. And I was like, I don't even have a clue what a cake pop is.
And by the way, before you get too far into that, I mean, this sounds like a very bold request. Like, I would never just go in and be like, hey, Frank, make me a cake pop, please.
She always knows that I love to try new things. And I love to create stuff. So that's the reason why she came home and wanted me to do that. So I did what everybody else does. I YouTubed it. How do you do this?
Right.
So that's actually where I started making cake pops. But my business didn't really start until COVID hit in 2020. I was at home. I had 4 children, and long story short, I had some health issues that I wasn't able to be out. One of my lungs wasn't working at the time because of surgery, and it was like, I've got to do something at home to make money because I can't go out. Have 4 kids at home, taking care of them. So I originally started like that. I made 6 different flavor cakes, little single cakes. And I was like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post them online, see who wants them. And at the time, you couldn't really go in contact with anybody, so that's where my delivery was born. I was like, I'm just going to deliver them right to their door, set them on their doorstep. It was no contact, so it was absolutely perfect for me. And from there, it just kind of blew up. God just blessed it more than what I could ever think or imagine.
It's amazing how COVID changed some of our business for the better. Maybe some for the worse too, let's be honest, right?
Absolutely.
But it changed some of it for the better because we learned more efficient delivery methods in some cases. And in your case, you learned a niche that really needed to be filled. So you're finding ways to get stuff out to people. Tell me a little bit about that first batch, though. You made that just straight up and you just said, I'm going to put it out there. Did you put it on Facebook, or what did you do?
I did. I originally first started with my personal Facebook page. I said, I'm just going to try it out. Let me see how the people in my community like it, the people that I knew. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow, that's very cool. Are there any specialty cake pops, like protein cake pops? I mean, where is this going?
So I have been all over the board with this, and I would love to get into some protein cake pops. Gluten-free is a big one right now as well. Also vegan. So still exploring some of those avenues. Haven't really crossed over into them, but would love to explore them some more.
Yeah, I think so. Well, one of the things is, the genius of some of the industries. I remember when a couple of these energy lines really came out, and they were doing energy drinks, just like the one I'm drinking today, the Celsius here. But it started off with, hey, let's give people energy, right? Let's just start with a simple concept. Let's give energy to people. And then some of them got really smart, and they said, why don't we put some amino acids in these? And why don't we put some fat burners in these? And all of a sudden, you start seeing them getting sold at the vitamin stores, and you start seeing them getting sold at the gyms. That's thinking. So I think this protein cake pop thing might be a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. Now she's going out and beating gyms.
I got other things I got to explore.
So you ended up selling these on Facebook. People started just reaching out, and you sold the whole first batch.
Yes.
Pretty easily.
Yes. No problem at all.
Okay, cool. And then what do you do with the next batch? I mean, did you just keep making them and selling them, or when did you start actually getting to a point where they're being made to order?
It was probably, I would say probably a few months later, I had people reaching out to me, hey, can you make this specific flavor for this birthday party? Can you do them in these specific colors? But before that, I was just doing basic white, red, I mean, whatever, red velvet was going to be red, and lemon was going to be yellow. And but then after that, people started reaching out, wanting me to do custom ones for their birthday parties and things like that.
Wow. I know we're talking about the success of it. Was there ever a point when you started this that you felt like, maybe this isn't going to work for some reason?
Well, I had some times of me exploring how to make things, and because whenever they wanted to do characters and things like that, that gets a little more complicated, and so those were the times I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But it, like I said, every time I made it, it literally sold everything that I made.
Wow.
Only in 4 years have I not sold everything I've made, probably 2 to 3 times.
2 to 3 times in 4 years.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome.
I know.
If I were to be like, okay, Kimberly, can you make me a little Macho Man Randy Savage cake pop? Could you do it?
I could so do it. I could print an edible image on there, and I can slap it right on there.
All right, I'm gonna personally request this
With some protein in it.
With some protein, and then and when you start selling these like wildfire across the country, just remember your old buddy Rob.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we've got here magically just appeared a box of Cake Poppin cake pops. So this is made by your company.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this box.
So this is actually the box that, can you mind if I open it?
100%.
This
Let's
is
do it.
actually the boxes that I started with whenever I originally started. I said that I needed something that was going to catch people's eyes. So this is my 6-count box, which I normally have a 12-count. The whole top lifts off. You have a little stand here, so that way you can have them like this. But this is kind of how I did it from the beginning. I had two of each different flavors. So I had 6 different flavors in a box. And so this flavor is traditional with the sprinkles on top, and then Fruity Pebbles.
No way. Tell me about the idea for the box, because I just assumed, and one of the next questions before you told me that is I was going to assume at first you're probably just like putting these in a plastic bag and bringing out. No, not you. You had a vision.
I had a vision from the very beginning. I knew
so
I
cool.
needed for it to look, the product to be appealing to the eye. So I knew I needed a pretty box. And my husband said, those boxes are a little expensive. I said, I know, but they're so pretty.
right. And we're going to sell them to the people anyway.
Yes.
So that's cool. That's cool. With the Fruity Pebbles and all this good stuff, they're probably all tasty, but do you have a favorite cake pop yourself?
My favorite cake pop's probably the pecan pie.
Pecan pie, okay.
Yes, it's actually has toasted pecans on top of it.
Now, you know, for the Northerners, she's talking about a pecan pie.
No, pecan. Myrtle Beach.
The name is pecan, okay, guys? All right.
It's pecan pie.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about when you get into your future plans.
Yes.
You've been doing so many things with this. You've built up a great business, great following, and you got a future ahead. I know you have plans. What are you thinking for the next year or two?
So I just started a YouTube channel last month.
Okay.
So super excited about
What's that called, by the way?
Cake Poppin with Kimberly.
Cake Poppin with Kimberly.
Yes. So it's basically doing a tutorial on how to make specialty cake pops.
Okay.
And doing things that that I messed up on to start off with. There's people all over the United States, all over the world that are doing the same things I'm doing. So I just kind of want to help them out, because I know whenever I'm looking for a new design, it's hard for me to find out how to do that. So just kind of helping some of those people along. So I just started that, which I feel like I'm ready for it to grow.
That's awesome.
And then my next thing is a delivery van. I am very excited about getting my delivery van with it wrapped. And then future, I hope to have a storefront.
Man, that's really cool. The delivery van, people underrate the vehicle with the logos. And it's funny because I worked at a lot of companies and we always track our leads. And probably like you're doing now, and you do a lot of social media, so you see a lot of this, but out of all the thousands and thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars you're spending, the vehicle on the road ends up being your number one lead generator because it's all over there. So you already know what it's going to look like. Have you come up with that?
I do. I know it's going to just be all beautiful and bright colors and cake pops all over the side.
Oh, that's be super cute. Are you going to have like maybe a giant cake pop coming out of the roof? That would be cool.
I probably need that, don't I? Right. So you can see me coming from a mile away.
A mile away, and you're just getting hungry, just waiting in traffic. Like, I wonder if that's edible. I don't know. Well, very cool stuff. Well, I wish you luck with that because I think you've always had a good plan and looks like some big things in the future. Tell me a little bit about your marketing. So one thing that impressed me about you, and as I said, we met at a Coastal Carolina speaking event, and so as I do, I always like to check out the people I'm speaking with. I go on your Facebook page, and there's just tons and tons of posts, and you were doing a lot of that stuff. Do you do your own social media?
I do. I do all of my social media. And my goal is to post something every single day. The more that you get it in front of their face, because sometimes they're scrolling in the morning, sometimes they're scrolling in the evening. So I try to post at least once a day, if not multiple times a day, just to keep my business in front of people's face.
Even during like Saturdays and Sundays, you're still posting. But does it get challenging though?
Absolutely.
You're trying to think of something new to post.
Yes, what am I going to post now? But there's always something new going on, whether it's a cake pop party and posting pictures of that, or Coastal Carolina students, their parents ordering cake pops for them, posting their picture, wishing them happy birthday with their cake pops. So there's always something to post about.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I know that one of the things that when you're thinking about social media posts, they always say, and here's another tip, when we do on the Leader Mentality Show, we like to have tips. They always say, when you're doing social media posting, really about 1 out of your 4 posts should be really hardcore about what you're doing.
Right.
So I own a real estate and construction company. We don't want to be talking about real estate and construction all week long, 4 out of 4 posts. We want to do one about maybe the team and one about an event, one about a holiday. Then boom, you can knock it out. So it's kind of your methodology with the cake pop?
Yes, and I do like surveys and stuff. What kind of flavor would you like to see next to get people engaged. In the post, and then whenever more people are engaged, then more people see the post. So so I try to do those at least once every other week.
I'm trying to think of a bad idea for a cake pop. What would it be? Have you had some?
Oh gosh, I've all over the board. People want me to do some savory cake pops.
Savory?
Yes, and I'm like, I don't know how that's going to taste covered in chocolate. But
yeah.
We'll see.
How would Kel?
For sushi.
Sushi, oh boy.
Dude, so bad.
Gosh, just stick with eating sushi if you really like sushi that much, right? No, that's cool. Well, as far as your inspirations, you started this company and you kind of almost fell into it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Have you had any inspirations along the way?
Yes, through my Cake Poppin community online, I have met several people that have just blown me away with what they're doing with their business and give me a hope of what I can do in the future as well. Just recently, this past October, I went to Ohio to meet with a girl named Amy. She owns Daisy Pops in Kent, Ohio, and she started in her basement several years ago, and now she has her own storefront with 2 different delivery vehicles, and so I went up there to learn the things from her, because what better way to do it than following in the footsteps of somebody that's already been there, done that.
That's so cool. Did you have to pay for that experience?
Absolutely.
Which is fine. But I think that you bring an interesting principle to me of leadership, and I share this with you, and I've talked about it at some of my training events, but talk about the different kinds of leaders that there are out there. And I believe that everybody can be a leader, but we're not always going to exhibit the same brand of leadership.
Right.
And I have 3 major categories. I call one the inspirational leader. This would be your Alexander the Great type of person. I'm not even saying that it's not about so much their vision, it's about their way that they communicate the vision. They get people inspired to do things. And then you got an educational leader. This would be like, I look at Einstein or Nelson Mandela was an educational leader. They're people who, they're not trying to run a corporation or anything, but you just learn from them.
Right.
And then you have one other thing, and this is what you kind of mentioned to me, and it's what I call the winning leader. I would would put Usain Bolt in that category. He's a guy who, it's not like he was teaching people how to win, but you watched him and you said, boy, I didn't realize you could run that fast. And so that's what I would call the winning leader. It kind of feels like that's what this lady in Ohio was for you. You saw what she could do and you're like, I want to aspire to do that. That's very cool. What was one of the coolest things you learned from her other than, the just what she did?
So her production, like how she managed all of her production and what each employee would come in and to do, and the checklists and all of that kind of stuff was very incredible of how she had everything laid out.
Do you feel like that's one of your natural phases that's coming up? Because what I'm hearing there is SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Yes.
We always have people saying, how do I scale up? How do I get from being Kimberly in the at the oven and making all the stuff, and then marketing, and then driving. So is that your next step?
Yes, absolutely. To have somebody for me to lay everything out and then them come in and do it. Because right now I do everything. Between me and my husband, we do all the deliveries. Me and my mom, we make all the cake pops. Like, this is where we're at right now. But my next step up is definitely having somebody come in and doing all of that for me.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I think it's awesome that you and your husband are working together.
Yes.
Do you guys ever bicker when you're doing it?
I love it. I love it.
So you guys are just the perfect in harmony, just going out. I picture you guys all happy with cake pops.
Yes, he has Fridays off, so he is now. I've recruited him to work with me from Fridays.
Oh my God, is he like your vice president of operations?
Yes,
oh, okay, good.
yes.
Well, that's good. At least you have a rank order. You're the CEO and all the way down. No, very cool. Shout outs to husbands everywhere. Listen to your wives. Well, as far as the coastal students, you talked about this a minute ago, and I really thought this was a genius thing you're doing. And we talk about innovation of leaders, right? You had this idea of getting coastal students as a surprise from their parents a cake pop. So you bring them a little box like this to them and their roommates. How did you come up with that, and where did that morph from, and where's it been?
Oh my goodness. So again, it just fell in my lap.
Yeah.
Like one of the other bakers in the area, she was doing this. She was actually delivering cakes to them on their birthdays, and she's like, I have so much business, I can't take care of all of it. Here, let me recommend you. So she posted me on one of the Coastal Carolina parent pages, and it has just went from there. They contact me, they let me know where they're at, they give me their phone number, I contact them to meet them, and they get a special surprise. You can even add balloons in there if you would like to do that as well.
I picture that little homesick college student, maybe the first time out there.
Listen, I gave one parent called me and she's like, she's so homesick. And whenever I got there, I gave her a cake pops. I was like, do you mind if I hug you? It was one of the little girls. She said no, and bless her heart, she started crying. And her mom said, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Because the parents, they are so appreciative that there's somebody here that's able to do that for their kids, because they're so far away and they can't do that. So, yes.
If you're a Coastal Carolina parent, listen, this is it. We're going to tell you how to get a hold of Kimberly later, but I think that's really amazing. When I was a coastal student, I lived in the dorms, and it's your first time away from school, and even me, I like to kind of meet everybody.
Right.
You're a little sad, it's a little different walk of life, and then somebody, cheerful person comes over and brings you a bunch of treats. That's not a bad thing. And you do this thing where you take a picture of it, and you send it to the parents and put it on social media?
So I actually just put it on social media, unless their parent requests, hey, will you send it to me? I had one parent tell me one time, this is the first picture I've gotten since they left.
So also a way to keep tabs, just in case.
You can see what's going on. She said, she is alive, praise God.
Professional college student finder, Kimberly Bashor. Oh, very cool. Well, you told me you read some books, and knowledge is power, right? Read anything good right now?
So right now I'm reading The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson. Love this book. It's actually probably my third time I've ever read it. But it's talking about praying over your dreams and dreaming big and dreaming dreams that only God can show up in. And I feel like this is one of my dreams that I have been dreaming, and things that I step back and say, wow, how am I here? And I could just point back that God's brought me here, and I'm very thankful and can't wait to see what the future holds, because I know it's going to be bigger than what it is right now.
Oh, no doubt. Well, you got your eye for the vision, and you would tell me that, if you go back to young Kimberly, you weren't expecting to be, were you expecting to be a business owner? Or?
Always. Okay. I always knew that I was going to be a business owner. Never knew what business I was going to own. I actually went to school for early child development, because I thought, I love kids, this is what I'm going to do. I had my first kid and said, I don't want to be with kids all the time like this.
And that was your own kid.
I
so
know,
imagine,
it was my own kid. So I was like, no, I don't want to do this. So from there, I actually started making wreaths and doing things like that because, like I said, I was creative. Never really took off. Then I bought a used children's clothing store. I thought, okay, I can do this. I got kids, might as well. But it was never really a passion of mine. And then whenever I got out of that business, like I said, this one kind of just fell in my lap and have loved it ever since.
Yeah, we talk about find your passion all the time, and it's sad because when you're a little kid and you're growing up and people say find a job you're passionate about, and as a little kid you're like I'm not passionate about anything but video games and maybe TikTok, and then but as you grow older you realize there is a passion in there, and that is the thing that will really make you go through the hard times. And probably if you have a dip in the cake poppin world, which doesn't sound like you've had many, but if you do, you push through because you're passionate about it. And I love that you said that, and that's very cool. That's cool stuff, Kimberly. It's been so much great value on the show today, taking us through your journey with the Cake Pops, and I really appreciate it. It sounds like you're just nailing it on all fronts. I always like to talk a little bit about charity. We start off the show, I was talking about Kind Keeper and our event on March 27th and the launch of the Pet of the Week program. We don't have one for this week, but going into future weeks, we're going to have a cute little pet that can be adopted each time. You an animal person, by the way?
I am.
So I'm right down.
We have a couple dogs. My one Boston Terrier, his name's Kevin.
Oh, Kevin.
Yes.
Creative dog man.
Yes. Oh gosh, it's got to be fun. Kevin, stop peeing on that. And people looking at you like, who are you talking to?
Right. Yeah, where's the human in here? We're talking. That's your dog. Yeah. But so you'll have to come out to this event. Maybe you could bring some cake pop.
Absolutely.
We'll have a whole cake popping event too. Well, cool stuff. What kind of charities are you involved with, if any?
So I have two that I really love. Coastline Women's Center. It's a pregnancy center that helps pregnant girls and women, which they're phenomenal. They're to share the love of Jesus with them and be a support to them as they walk through their pregnancy. And also Meals on Wheels, giving those meals to the grandparents and the disabled in the area is just, I've always loved to support both of those charities.
Yeah, it's about giving a hand up sometimes to people. And I think a lot of times in this world, one thing that always amazes me, and I really do talk to the leader mentality crowd and everybody else, is I think I can at least speak for Americans. I can say I think we are underratedly generous. I think that when we're given the opportunity to do something we're passionate about helping others, more than often, I think we step up. You see one of these, how you'll see these disasters, a hurricane comes and wipes out everything, and you see the people start giving money.
Absolutely, just over and beyond.
Over and beyond, and I think that too often we see the negative world of social media, the negative world of sometimes TV ratings that are given by news programs reporting on the worst, but people try to do the right thing, and I think that's a powerful thing. So well done with what you're doing with Coastline Women's Center and Meals on Wheels. Just keep doing that good stuff and keep fighting for the future. So that's good stuff. Kimberly, you've been great to have on the show. I appreciate you being on and taking your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Randy the Macho Man Savage, Cake Pop coming.
Got it.
All right, I can't wait.
With some protein.
And with protein. And I told her I'll eat it on the show when she gets it. Ooh, yeah. All right. Well, and we thank everybody for listening. And the message of the show, I think, is quite everything that Kimberly said. She's really embodying that. When COVID happened, she found an opportunity. Number one, she found an opportunity that was a missing thing that the customer needed. You don't do this to please yourself. Most of the time you're doing it to please others, to find something that you can make a difference in somebody else's life. Number two, when a challenge comes, you have to see an opportunity. Every single challenge in life has an opportunity. It's our job to see through it and make sure that we're getting to that opportunity. And the third thing I would say is that keep pushing for what you're passionate about. Sometimes we find ourselves in life and we're chasing the money, we're chasing the fame, we're chasing maybe just the kudos of others. But look at that thing that floats your boat and make it happen. And that's what Kimberly did. So Kimberly, well done. It's been awesome having you on.
Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. And we do want to thank all of our viewers of the Leader Mentality Show. Thank you guys for tuning in week after week. Make sure to like and share us on Facebook and other social media. Check out Kimberly on social media. Oh, and by the way, before we sign out, Kimberly, how can they find you? What's the best way?
You can find me on Facebook, Cake Poppin, or on Instagram, Cake Poppin with Kimberly.
All right, so check her out. Check us out. Check out the leader list some of the best companies in the area with leadership traits. And we want to thank you all for listening. We'll see you all the next time on the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens.